Welcome to the In the Business podcast, the podcast aimed at helping and inspiring younger entrepreneurs. In this episode, we spoke to Ben Coomber. He's a high performance coach, and it's a very, very thought provoking conversation. We hope you enjoy it.
Ben, thanks for joining us today. Let's start with the beginning. When did you first realize it was your mission to help people live more awesome lives?
When I was like 21, I had a physical transformation when I was 18, left school, was proper fat, had loads of health issues, and then went on a transformation. And it was hard because I didn't have the right information. And when I found the right information and it all clicked, I lost a huge amount of weight in a very short amount of time. So like 6 stone, 5.5 stone in like 8 months, which is a lot.
Yeah.
And through that, I was like, wow, that's the power of the right information applied consistently. And at the time, I was going to go into career in acting, like stage acting. That was what I'd done ever since I was a kid, and kind of sort of not lost interest, but gained a stronger interest in the physical body and health, and then trained to become a personal trainer. So yeah, 20, I've been helping people perform at their best in body and mind.
Amazing. Can you give us a bit more of a snapshot about your life so far? Because you've built a e-commerce brand, you've written a book, and a lot more. So can you sort of walk us through what you've done?
Yeah, so that was the start of it. I'm 39 now. My dad had 2 kids, 2 beautiful girls, 3 and 5. I, in this moment, run a e-commerce supplement company called Awesome Supplements. That's sort of part of my day job, the CEO of that company. And then alongside that, I'm a high performance coach to men, mostly entrepreneurs, creators, and creative types, people that want to perform at their peak, but they have a very kind of entrepreneurial mindset. The journey leading up to that, I was a personal trainer for quite a while. Then I moved online in 2008, started coaching nutrition and sort of body transformations online in 2008. Built a team, built quite a big company, then moved into nutrition education, did that for quite a while. And within all that kind of business journey, really saw the value of a personal brand. Have always liked sharing a message of like trying to educate and help and change. So I started blogging, and then when Facebook came around, I started doing Facebook and all that kind of stuff. And that kind of morphed. So I had the first ever health and fitness podcast in 2012. That became the #1 health and fitness podcast in the UK for quite a while. So I was an early doctor. I was OG. And then I got a supplement company, and within all that, yeah, magazines, speaking on stage, podcast, wrote a book, How to Live an Awesome Life, which came out in 2023, which is very much a self-development book, how to eat well, perform well, think well, design your life your way.
Now, touching upon the supplement brand, how and why, and how do you even go creating a supplement? How do you go about doing that? Because I imagine there's a lot of like regulatory processes involved.
Not as much as you would think, and I hope that it does become more regulated, because
Oh, really?
there is some, yeah, charlatans in the space. I'm sure everyone's seen, like even recent things like the creatine gummies,
Yeah.
exposure and stuff. Like it's crazy. I just, get ingredients, stick them in the bath, mix them up, like tub them up. My mum helps me. No, we're we're legit. So yeah, there's companies out there that do contract manufacturing. I design all the formulas, I set the standards, I analyze the research, I work with the team, and then we kind of use manufacturing capacity and companies to help us make the products. It all started because I worked with a supplement company back in all my coaching days. I was sort of like the face of their brand, and then we fell out. We didn't agree principally on how to promote supplements, make supplements. So I fell out with them, and in my sort of business naivety was like, oh, how hard can it be to set up a supplement company? Turns out quite hard. But it's been a beautiful journey. Why do I do it? I think there's value in it. On top of a really good diet, good exercise, good sleep, there are things that can be helpful. Creatine for in the gym, omega-3 for your cardiovascular and brain health, an advanced multivitamin to make sure you get enough vitamin D, magnesium, zinc, B12, etc. So I am someone that will always look for those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5% improvements in health of body and mind, and the sort of supplements plays a role in that.
Many say that marketing a supplement company is almost harder than actually creating the product. How do you go about advertising? Where do you advertise? And what sort of strategies do you use?
So we use paid media quite a bit, Facebook, Instagram ads. We have a whole army of ambassadors, quite a lot of them, 1,600 ambassadors that, talk about our brand and say things they like the products and stuff. Email marketing, but that's mostly to customers that have purchased, are in our ecosystem. In the early days, I was doing a lot of marketing, my podcast, my social media, that brought in quite a lot of people and stuff. But it is a lot harder now. There's a lot more competition. Facebook ads are incredibly expensive. There's a lot of noise in the marketplace. There's a lot of distrust. So people are very wary. People have brought products. They've either not tasted good or whatever. And so converting a customer and getting them to trust you can be really challenging. So yeah, I'd say marketing is more complicated than developing the product. I agree with that.
Yeah. I imagine the whole creatine thing hasn't helped as well, because that is fairly recent, as you said,
It
in
is,
that
yeah.
whole trust sort of factor of things.
And the creatine gummy thing, it's like an innovation, like putting it in the gummy, like
Yeah.
creatine in a powder form. It's very well validated. Everyone trusts it. Everyone knows it. So hopefully maybe it just points people back to not chasing innovation that's not really well supported, but doing the tried and tested things like a creatine powder, an omega-3 capsule.
You said it's quite hard to sort of market something now because, I mean, Facebook ads are so populated, aren't they? You scroll down and it's endless advertisements. Is there anything you'd do if you're a young guy now starting this company to market it? So that was different to what you did back then?
Yeah, I think ambassadors, friends that like your product, they trust you, looping them into kind of like the system. I still think there's a massive role for organic, marketing, becoming very good at content marketing yourself, especially if you are time rich, money poor. That might as well be a strategy. And it's a strategy that we're looking to do even more as a business because we've relied very heavily on paid marketing, but it can take a huge amount of resources. It's not just the cost of the ad, it's the cost of the person running it. Then you've got a graphic designer or videographer. Then you've got testing budget. Like it's huge. So I think organic content mastery should always be part of a marketing plan.
How do you even get more than 100 ambassadors? Like, where do you find these people?
Well, I'm very fortunate that I've built a big personal brand. So that kind of really helped. Scaling wise as a company, we'll do a couple of million this year. So like that's already a lot of customers. We're doing some good things, and a lot of those customers, do a bit of social media. A lot of them are personal trainers or fitness coaches or creators themselves. So when we launched our ambassador program, we got quite a lot of people on it quite quickly. But that's already because we had quite a credible customer base. They were big fans of us. They were returning customers. So it hasn't been too challenging yet, but we did it as a bit more of a maturer company.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, sure. Well, let's talk about your coaching. So you often say awesome living. Can you define this for us? What do you mean by living an awesome life?
I don't know about you, but I want to live an awesome life in all aspects of life. And we can get caught up, especially when it comes to our work. We get our blinkers on, we get into our work, we're kind of making a name for ourselves, we're creating a career or a business or whatever. And you can kind of lose sight of what's important. You get swallowed up by the mission, the business makes your ego feel good. And you're then now starting to become validated through your business and stuff. And sometimes you've got to stand back and go, hang on a second, what do I actually want for my life? Well, my number one word in life is freedom. I want to constantly build freedom into everything that I do. So I want freedom of time, freedom of mind, freedom of money, freedom of health. I want to be present with my kids. I want to go on holiday a lot. I want to play sport. I want to do all those things. So for me, it's about feeling awesome, and being awesome and designing your awesome life your way. My life will be different to your life and the next person's, but it's important to build your life your way. And for me, that is a life that is awesome.
Sure. So how do you go about actually coaching someone? Because you break it into 3 pillars, don't you? You got physiology, psychology, and purpose. Why did you pick those 3 sort of categories?
Well, broadly speaking, we want our health to be performing optimally, sleep, nutrition, etc. We all know what it's like to not have great health. Like when you get a cold, your mindset's crappy, you're unmotivated. So physiology has to be a starting point. It's almost like the basis. And then psychology, that can be quite a challenging map to navigate. When we talk of mindset, we're quite often talking about resilience and being calm and being clear and having clarity and stuff. But that can be quite problematic because your mindset is built by your past experiences, ultimately, how your parents parented, what happened at school, the previous jobs that you've had. So getting mental robustness and mental freedom is an incredibly important part of the picture. And then the third thing, purpose, is like it's what we're actually doing in our life. What are we doing? Why are we doing it? How are we doing it? Does it fulfill us? Like my job, if it doesn't feel purposeful anymore, I should probably change it because it's going to make me very
Yeah.
unhappy. So it's health of body, health of mind, and health in, all that you're doing in your daily life.
Yeah. Does purpose kind of link up the other 2? Like if you've got purpose, does your health become suddenly a lot more manageable, and your psychology, do you think that's the most important sort of aspect?
Sometimes, I think it's really hard to say like what is the most important thing. I think health should always be a baseline because it's very hard to feel purposeful and to have good mental clarity when you're like not slept, you haven't got energy, you haven't kind of got good fuel. But then you could argue someone that's purposeful and feels very driven would probably then make good behavioral choices around going to bed on time and eating well because they see the value because it fuels their purpose. So you asked me a question like, how do I actually coach people? Coaching for me is always about finding the most high leverage things that we could do to get the best outcome. So if I was to sit down with you and I'm like, oh, there's so many things that aren't working here, and you say you're sleeping badly, sleep would be a major focus for us because it would probably positively impact loads of other things. But if you're not feeling that purposeful, then you might not be making good lifestyle choices and going to bed on time because you're feeling a bit depressed and low motivated. So it's always about focusing on what that individual needs and almost like what is weak in those 3 pillars.
Yeah. Sleep is a big one, isn't it? You hear that a lot in the news, how one bad night's sleep, the detrimental health effects just one night are quite terrifying, really, aren't they?
Yeah. Do you know what? It's really hard. Like scientifically, they talk about that a lot. I think that can be quite a dangerous narrative because it can make you feel quite like fearful and give you
Yeah.
kind of like almost anxiety around sleep. And it's
Interesting.
like,
Yeah.
okay, cool, I've got a bad night's sleep, but fuck, I can't do anything about it now. Like, there's no point beating myself up about it. I'm just going to try and maybe be a bit
Yeah, of
gentler
course.
on myself today. Um, Also, the body can handle some pretty extreme stress
Yeah.
and recover from it very well. Yeah, and you've got to take kind of a short and a long-term view. Like short term, yeah, you're probably gonna have a decline in performance, or whatever. But like long term, we're kind of thinking like if you didn't sleep very well for quite a number of years, you might live to your 80 rather than 84 because you
Yeah.
haven't got as much DNA regeneration, cell repair, etc. So in context terms, 4 years might not seem like a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, try and sleep well, but also don't beat yourself up
Yeah.
because
It's
shit
an
happens.
interesting point. I'm actually type 1 diabetic, and when I get a bad night of sleep, I can, like, my blood glucose levels the day after are impossible to manage, really, because I don't know the exact science behind it. But I just think that's quite an interesting, like, my mood goes down, everything goes down. So I always try and prioritize sleeping a lot.
Yeah,
But
totally.
What's your opinion on wearables? We've got Whoop, we've got Apple Watch, because it's like it tells you these things, but almost the fact that it tells you, could that be a bad thing? As in,
Yeah,
you
I
could
think
have
so.
stress about it.
Yeah, no, totally. It's like with any tool or data point, it's got to be interpreted by the individual. So it's got to be run through the filter of that person's mindset. And if they're quite an anxious person and they're someone that relies on data to making decisions because they're not that intuitively guided, then actually wearing a wearable might not be great for that person because it might create more anxiety. So the tool directly is never the problem, it's how the tool's used. So I have an Aura ring and I do really love it, but I only use a few data points and I never look at it on a micro level. I only use it for
Interesting.
trends in my
Yeah.
data. So if I wake up and I'm like, oh, mate, I really want to go to the gym today, feeling great, want to lift some weights or play paddle or whatever. If I look at my Aura ring and it's like, oh, bro, you've only got 71 sleep score, like maybe you should rest today. Like, what are you going to do? Like, you're going to not
Yeah.
live or not like, and there might genuinely, the ring might be like, no, genuinely, you really need to rest. But like, if you feel good, then just like crack
Do
on.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, the sleep data that these wearables are kind of producing, it is inconsistent. Like it's not really reliable. And that's why my clients, I'm always saying, look at it in terms of a trend and a snapshot, but only you know you. And if you stand there in the morning, you're like, I can't wait to go out for a run today, then go and have a run.
Yeah. Well,
Interesting.
I suppose a lot of sort of online coaches don't really integrate the complexities of life into their coaching, which is something you clearly do. You accept that life is not as simple as you got to sleep 8 hours every single night, otherwise everything's going to end.
Yeah, I'm a complete realist. Like, I've got two kids, life's highly variable, I never know what's being thrown at me. And I think there's so much that we can learn from science and data, but no one can ever know someone better than themselves. And the journey to being a high performer and doing well in all areas of your life is knowing yourself. That is the
Yeah.
biggest challenge, knowing yourself in terms of your values, what you believe, what you want in your life, then knowing yourself on a health level, how you feel. You know, I could build a nutrition plan for one person and it not work for the other person because they like more of a fatty or a meaty diet, and the next person likes more of a carby kind of fruit, vegetable based diet. Like you only know that until you start to work with it and listen to your body and kind of really tune in.
Yeah, sure. Just before we talk about a bit more about mindset and psychology, I'm quite interested to know your daily routine. Do you have a relatively strict one?
Uh, it's so how I would frame that is I have routine non negotiables that give me freedom in other areas. So I used to be highly controlling of my routine. And actually, it used to give me quite a lot of stress and anxiety because if it didn't go to plan, I'd kind of like beat myself up and stuff. Um, and part of that is because I was a man that was in business. I'd read a lot of business books, and a lot of business books focus on productivity and hyper performance. And you kind of end up looking at your 16-hour day and like, how much can I get out of my 16-hour day? But then you forget that in your 16-hour day, the goal is to actually live your life, not to become a robot to your routine. So I always like to talk about routine starting the night before, because the night before is where really your next day starts. So for me, the most important decision for me is the time I go to bed. So I go to bed around 9:15, 9:30, and I like to be asleep for 9:45, 10. And that's because I've got two young kids. They can get me up in the night. So I always want to try and anticipate any like nighttime wake ups. Now my kids sleep very, very well. That rarely happens anymore. So usually I'm asleep by 9:45, 10, and then I wake up naturally between 4:30 and 6. And I've never set an alarm. I don't like them like just there.
Yeah.
And that allows my body to do what it wants to do naturally, which I really like and appreciate. So ideally, that allows me to get up about an hour before my kids most days, and I love that time. It's time for me. It's low stress. Like I can do whatever I want. So I'll go outside. I'll ground in the morning. So I'll take a pint of water and go outside into my garden, get the grass on my feet, breathe fresh air, take 5 minutes to just be in nature. And then I'll go inside, I'll make a coffee, and then the rest of that time before my kids get up is, I call it flow time. And it's where I get to flow with whatever my body needs. So I might wake up one day and I might feel like quite emotionally dysregulated, might feel quite like, I don't know, it's just something there. And so I might meditate for 20 minutes, or I might feel quite stiff. So I might do a stretch and move, or I might feel like I just want to chill with a coffee, sit with my dog and read a book. Like there's no programmed set thing in that time. It's me tuning into what I want and I need. Some days I might be doing something with the business and there's a lot on. I'm like, cool, I'm going to work early. But it's my decision. And that's why I call it flow time. And then my kids wake up at 6:30. And then I do all the morning with them, cook breakfast, do whatever. And then I work most days like 9 to 5. But in that 9 to 5, I also go to the gym, run errands, all that kind of stuff. So I work about 20, 25 hours a week when you kind of look at my week. And then 5 o'clock, home, kids, food, bath time, chilling. And then 7 to 9 p.m. is like walk the dog, watch a bit of telly with the wife, do life admin, that kind of stuff. And that's kind of like a normal-ish day if I'm not traveling or anything like that.
No, sounds great.
Yeah.
So when it comes to psychology, what sort of limiting beliefs do you often see that, I don't know, sort of sabotage progress, I guess?
Sabotaging progress will usually come from the individual not truly believing or allowing themselves to have the success that they're seeking. They don't feel they deserve it. So somehow their subconscious will end up sabotaging that because A, they don't feel they deserve it, but also their body is programmed to thrive in chaos because chaos equals safety. So, for example, if someone grew up in a fairly chaotic environment when they were younger, their central nervous system will be programmed to thrive in chaos because chaos equates to safety.
Interesting.
So when you achieve a goal, there's usually like, this is good. I've either got more money or more recognition or more time or whatever the goal is. But then that's like, oh my God, this is like really calm. Like I now don't have to work as much, or I now don't like whatever. This calmness comes to us and you're like, this doesn't feel safe. I don't like it. I don't deserve it. So you do something to create chaos, which means you then have to fix it or do something or rebuild something. And that's why people are constantly going in these cycles of success, sabotage, because deep down, they don't believe they deserve what the goal actually was.
Yeah. Your central nervous system, like you hear a lot about that online. Can you change that? Because I don't really understand how that works. Can you sort of just give us a sort of dummies explanation?
Yeah. I'll be really honest. My understanding and education still feels quite junior. So when you like train to become a nutritionist and a health coach and stuff, we look at the central nervous system for its two most simplest functions in terms of parasympathetic and sympathetic. So stress, fight, flight, overactivation. And that's not a bad thing. Like that helps us exercise. It helps us concentrate. It helps us do things. Like cortisol release isn't necessarily a bad thing. And on the other side of it, you've got parasympathetic, rest and digest. And throughout the day, we should kind of oscillate between it. And our nervous system should be highly adaptable in that, yes, I might go for a run and flood my body with stress hormones. But then half an hour later, my body should be able to calm down, regulate, and kind of be in just a very smooth and calm state. So that's how we traditionally view the nervous system. But then the nervous system is kind of like an electrical tone throughout the whole of your body. So for example, if you are an anxious person, aside from the parasympathetic and sympathetic side of the nervous system, in the middle is like this constant tone of anxiety, this kind of low level constant, like, zzz, like feeling anxious. So your central nervous system is then like, imagine it like a rev counter on a car. You're living at 3,500 RPM, and then stress takes you up to 9,000 rather than living at 1,000 RPM and stress taking you up to 5, which maybe we could argue would be a lot more healthy. And the nervous system is very much responsive from your belief structure. So if you believe that you are, for example, if you believe that chaos is safety because of something that happened, or a lot of what happened in your childhood. Your childhood was very chaotic. There was a lot of movement. There was never a lot of kind of like settled behavior. Your nervous system will be hyper vigilant because it's always anticipating change or anger or certain kind of emotions, and that's stored in our nervous system. And that's only something that I've really invested a lot of time in the last couple of years, because I was someone that had a lot of anxiety. I was hypervigilant. I was controlling. I was fearful. And I didn't realize how all of that was like baked into my nervous system. And you have to use various tools and techniques to kind of learn how to let go of those emotional imprints, those self-limiting beliefs, to allow the nervous system to calm down and be far better regulated.
That's
Interesting.
very interesting stuff.
Have you heard of a company called NeuroSim?
No, I don't think so. So what is it that they do? It sounds like technology, neurosync.
Yeah, they sell it's something that goes on your ear here, and it sort of zaps electrical something or another. I'm not entirely sure. And it claims to be able to calm down the nervous system. And it came up because you were talking about that here, where it kind of builds up and it sort of calms everything down and relaxes your body.
What I would be really interested in is what we don't want to do. So, for example, let's use a different analogy. Let's look at someone's sleep. Let's say it's bad.
Yeah.
And someone said, oh, my sleep's really bad. I want to take melatonin to help me improve my sleep. And as a coach, I might be like, okay, cool, that's fine. Let's do that short term, but long term, let's actually improve your sleep. Let's actually find out why you're not sleeping properly.
Technology can't always, and medication.
It's kind of the Band-Aid approach.
Yeah.
It's like, so the NeuroSim, the NeuroSim might help, but it's like, well, why are you getting overstressed? Why are you hyperstimulated? Let's kind of work on that.
I just wanted to know your sort of thoughts, because it does all sorts of like, and they have actual studies sort of coming off of it. And it does do all sorts of these sort of nervous system things, so to speak. So if someone did have loads of problems like this, would you recommend them looking at stuff like this or not?
I would much rather someone learned how to self-regulate their nervous system and their stress response. Like if I'm sat here and I'm stressed and I'm like, oh, I'll zap my NeuroSim. Like, what's the signal that you're actually saying to yourself? It's like, you're actually physically saying, I cannot regulate myself, so I'm going to use an external tool to regulate myself. Again, I don't have any issue with people using tools short term to like help themselves, teach themselves, especially if someone's like very stressed. But one of the most powerful ways that you can de-stress yourself is learn how to breathe effectively and use breath work. That's one of the best ways. So if NeuroSim, for example, claims like, oh, it can reduce stress by 27%, like by just clicking the button, you could do the same through breath work. The thing is most people don't, because it takes a bit more time investment to actually learn these things. But these things are life skills. It's like, you wanting to improve your diet and you're like, oh, I'll just buy healthy ready meals. Okay, that's fine, but that has a shelf life to it, because at some point you're going to have to cook. And when you cook, you need to know what to cook and be able to be a healthy kind of chef. You can't just always live on healthy ready meals. So it's just that kind of mindset and approach to really value yourself enough to invest in the right tools to look after yourself.
Oh, that's an interesting point. Yeah.
It's interesting because maybe then you'd end up with like 10 different products trying to sort everything out, where really you said the basics, just breath work, can just fix stuff.
Almost seems like you're burying the problem a bit. Obviously, everyone's situation is different. You're kind of hiding.
What is under so many modern problems is everyone working too much. Like, think about it. Everyone talks about, oh, how do you achieve more work-life balance? And people are trying to hack things and do certain things. It's like, no, work less, and then you have more time for everything else. That's it. That's the fucking life hack. So I only work 25 hours a week. Why? Because I want time to exercise, I want time to be with my kids, I want time to go to music festivals, I want time to go on holiday, I want time to do stuff that I want to do. If I work 50 hours a week, well, I'm not going to have that time to do those other things. It's simple math. And the more you work, the more you've then got to stress to fit everything else in, which is then stressful in and of itself. And we're just like whirring around. So, coming back to my question, your question about like coaching, one of the big things I coach with the people that I work with is freedom. How do we create more freedom in your life? Because that's what most people want. They want the freedom to live their life their way to an extent.
Yeah.
And if we're always working, you'll probably never feel free. You'll probably always be chasing your tail, and you'll probably always be pretty stressed.
Well, you're probably more productive now that you've sort of minimized your hours in a way. Would you say that you're more productive?
Way more productive. I'm a savage. Like today, I'm working. So we're recording this at 11 a.m. I started work at about 9:15. I'm going to finish at about 3:15 with a bit of a lunch break for a walk and stuff. And if you know that you've only got like 5.5 hours to work, you're going to go for it.
Yeah.
Like you're going
There's
to
a
put
saying, isn't there? That's the time fills the available, no, the task fills the available time. If you give yourself, I'm going to work from 9 till 9, it'll take 9 till 9. But if you actually limit it and say, I'll go 9 till 11 or something, you'll get it done then.
Totally.
Yeah.
And the problem is when you're an entrepreneur, you'll quite often give a lot of your extra time to your business because you believe you need to. You kind of have that like fear of like, oh, will I make it? Will I earn enough? Will it work? And like, don't get me wrong, in the early days, you got to hustle. Like there's no
Yeah.
way around it. But once you start to like make it, once you're, earning some all right money, the business is working, you then need to stand back and readjust and be like, hang on a second, do I need to work 60 hours this week to get the outcome that like I want? Am I enjoying working 60 hours a week? And when I went through this process, I was like, no, I don't want to work 60 hours a week. So then you look to optimize. So in business, I do this thing called the time game. And I basically say, how little a time can you do the things that you need to do in your business? And
That's
then no
great.
more. And I
Yeah.
went from working like 60 hours a week to 20 because I was like, I can actually do what I need to do in 20 hours a week. So why don't I just do that?
Exactly. I saw an article online the other day, and it was an American company. Can't remember the name, but they were giving their employees unlimited holiday. They were saying if you just finish the work, you can have as much time off as you want as long as you get the job done. And I guess that's similar sort of stuff. It's, just get it done.
Well,
in
there's
whatever
lots of
time.
books,
Get it
lots of
done good.
books coming out about this stuff at the moment, like the 4-hour work week was it? I think one of the books. And
Yeah, it's
it's
similar.
becoming
I've
it's
heard
becoming a bit of
similar
a
stuff.
thing,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, the 4-hour work week's been out 10 plus years.
Oh, has it? Okay, I'm a bit
It's
behind.
a really
I'm a bit
old
behind.
Yeah. You need to.
I had to
You need
catch
to
up.
update.
But I think it's having a renaissance because, there's a lot of people that have started to really master the art of like leveraging business, especially with AI. It's like, okay, I used to do that thing in 7 hours. I can now do it in 4 hours. I now have a choice to hyper optimize even more and keep working 7 hours. But then there's a lot of people going, why don't I just work the 4 hours? That sounds more fun. Like, if I was working, in California, I'm like, hang on, I could work 4 hours and go surfing for the afternoon. Cool. Why don't I do that? Sounds way more fun.
Life'd be great.
And I think people are coming to that realization because stress is such a big talking point. Work-life balance is such a big talking point. And don't get me wrong, we all want to create, many of us want to create in the world and do great things. But like I'm the CEO of a company, and one of the best things that I can do is create a calm and level mind. And I don't do that by working all the time. I do that by having balance where I'm working a bit, but I'm in nature a bit, I'm exercising a bit, because I mean, your best ideas never come sat in front of your computer.
Yeah. Go for a walk. Find them there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just to sort of start wrapping up this conversation, what are some of the challenges that you've faced? You must have faced a few building your businesses and building your coaching business, your vitamin supplements. What are some of the challenges that you faced?
Going nearly bankrupt twice, so huge like cash problems. I got attacked online for like a solid year by someone. There was a competitor in our space, and they sort of chose to like attack me repeatedly online and at events and stuff. That was a very challenging period in my life. The hardest challenge was probably my health challenge, where I got long COVID, which is a form of chronic fatigue syndrome, basically, where I had to really rethink everything in my life and essentially overworking and putting myself under too much pressure and whipping myself constantly in the world of business led me to that place. So getting back to a place where I actually functioned like a normal human, I had energy, wasn't depressed, etc. They're probably the biggest challenges I've faced, and I don't know. I'm sure there's some in the future.
Yeah. How did you overcome those?
Well, the bankruptcy thing took a lot of restructuring, refinancing, rethinking things, and then also being patient and having to be very creative as well. I remember one day my accountant rang me up and he said, if you don't do something by the end of the month, you'll owe the bank 25 grand. And I was like, oof. I was like, how do I create 25 grand really quickly? And I basically built a UK tour for nutrition where I basically went to all these different gyms and just spoke every evening at a gym. And I think every one I got like 700 quid or something paid by the gym. So I did that. So yeah, you got to think on your feet a little bit. You know, we're resilient entrepreneurs. Like it's one of the greatest self-development journeys you can go on, because you've got to constantly think of different ways to do things, problem solve. Yeah, but for me, the health challenge was probably the hardest thing, because I had to look at myself. There was nothing external to blame. It was all on me. I had to do the work to kind of fix myself.
Amazing. If you could go back to your 20-year-old self, what sort of high performance, say, habits or beliefs would you wish he had?
High performance doesn't mean more, it means better. And I wish someone would have really kind of rammed that home for me, because I just spent my 20s coming into my 30s just trying to find ways to do more, more, more. And it broke me in a huge way. And it's about being better. It's being able to be a bit fitter, a bit more productive, but more present. And I think sometimes we can just not take enough time to zoom out and just say, let's look at the big picture here. Like, am I happy in all areas of my life? Okay, I'm not. Why not? What do I want to change? Because we can get stuck. We get tunnel vision at times. We're building things. We're on a bit of a journey. And you need these reset days. Like in the world of business, they call it like a CEO day, where you take a day out to kind of look at your vision and your values and all that kind of stuff. I think you need to do that in life. Like you take a CEO day once a quarter, once every 2 months for your life, and go, am I happy with how much free time I have? Am I happy with work, with my relationship, with my health? And if not, you readjust.
It's been great to talk to you. Where can people find you online and connect with your work?
Yeah, come say hello. I'm Ben Coomber, Coomber online. My book, How to Live an Awesome Life, is on Amazon and Audible if you'd like to check that out. And if you want to check out the supplement company, it's awesomesupplements.co.uk. You can use the code CEO15 if you want to try it, get 15% off. And that's me.
Amazing. Thank you so much for talking to us. That's been great.
Chaps, thank you for amazing questions. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for listening to another episode. That was a very, very insightful conversation, and we hope you learned a lot from it. I think my key takeaway from that was that high performance doesn't mean doing more. What do you think, Harrison? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. The thing that I loved about it is the flow time. He had the hour a day where it's just like whatever his body feels, that's what he does. And I think that's important, because you can get this is a routine, need to stick to it. But, different days, you do need different things yourself. So I did love the flow time part of that. But there was a lot in there. Like a lot in there.
That was, there is a principle. I can't remember the exact name of it, but it says the task sort of fits the amount of time you give it, which is, I think that's very true.
If you give something 2 hours, you'll probably spend 2 hours to do it. But if you give yourself something 30 minutes, you're going to be a lot more productive.
The research for this podcast, if I say I've got 10 minutes to do it, I'll do it in 10 minutes. If I say, I've got a few hours, it'll happen in a few hours. So
what do you think about quality, though? Because don't you think that sometimes if you, like, let's say homework, let's say schoolwork, let's say there's a uni thing. If you spend 20 minutes doing something, let's say it's an assignment, or spending 2 hours doing it, surely there's a quality difference in them two
I think you've got to be realistic. So a huge task isn't going to take 10 minutes, but you could probably narrow it down and be more efficient. Like the questions or the research for this doesn't need to take I get the same quality doing 20 minutes as I would an hour and a half. But you got to be realistic. That was a big thing that was a theme throughout this conversation, was be realistic. Like, you're not, like, not everyone's that Brian Johnson guy. Have you seen him? He's
Oh yeah,
basically-
the trying to de-age himself
yeah,
guy.
to be
Yeah,
realistic
I've seen
about
that
your
guy,
life,
yeah.
and just work around your life. Don't try and cram so much in that you're tired, you're miserable. Be realistic with your goals.
Don't you think though, if everyone's realistic, there'll be no crazy innovation? Like, you could look at Brian Johnson right now and laugh at him, but he is gonna innovate on health. Like, he's gonna find out things that everyone else won't because of he's so crazy into that.
Yeah, you could do have a point, but like Ben said, the early stages of a business are a lot
Yeah.
of hustle. But
The
once
crazy stage.
but you got to think about what you want. If you want to be an innovator, you got to be realistic about being an innovator. If you want to be a family guy with a happy mind and freedom, free time, be realistic about that. I think that answers your question. You got to have the.
I guess it what
you know
makes
what I
you
mean? Like,
happy.
what do you want to be? Be
Yeah.
realistic about it. If you want to be an innovator, be realistic about the fact you're going to have to be working all the time and constantly doing this, doing that, and trying to get your products out there. But if you want to be happy and calm and have a family and be free, be realistic about that as well.
Yeah, fair point.
Do you think?
Yeah, no, I do agree. I also think that you could look at it on the other way, as in the 20 minutes. Okay, it might take an hour to do it to good quality, but you could split that 20 minutes up. So you're not spending an hour of low quality work, you're doing 20 minutes of high quality work 4 times.
Another thing that I thought was quite interesting was sort of, this was earlier on in the conversation, but ambassadors as potential way of advertising.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And it's come up on Steven's episode. It came up here. Facebook ads has got so expensive in the last sort of 10 years. It's gone crazy. So ambassadors is a real way to, it's more organic content coming out because it's, yes, you're maybe paying them or giving them products, but they are real people using your products. And that way, it's a slightly different way of advertising, a bit more unique. And down the line, it may have the same effect as Facebook and get expensive again. But at the moment, it's definitely that Facebook sort of 10 years ago.
Yeah. Another important thing, just before we end today, is the non-negotiables within your routine. That was an interesting point. So
yeah, 100%.
he did have quite a strict routine, but he has his non-negotiables, the stuff he would never miss. And that is a bit, I know, it seems a bit more realistic again. I'm back to that word than saying 9 o'clock I'm going to do this, 9:15 I'll do that, 10 o'clock I'll do that. No, what are the things that you want to do every single day? And can you get them in? Anyway, we hope you enjoyed that one. We thought it was a great conversation.
It was.
So remember, please do subscribe,
And
like, comment, leave us a review. Tell us how we're doing. We can take the hits. We can take the punches. We're strong people.
anything you want to see or you want to see better.
Yeah, please do get in touch with us and engage with us because we're trying to build a platform for young entrepreneurs here. And I hope you enjoyed the episode.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.